Morning comes whether you're ready or not. Tu Tien wakes before dawn, like always. The decision from last night sits heavy in her chest, but her hands know what to do. Get up, make tea, check the garden. The rhythm of work doesn't stop just because your world is about to change. She stands at the kitchen window, watching the first light touch the bitter melon vines. They're still heavy with fruit, still growing, still reaching toward the sun like they don't know their days here are numbered. And maybe that's the hardest part. Not the leaving itself, but the fact that life keeps going, keeps growing, right up until the moment you walk away. Jack is still sleeping. She can hear his breathing from the bedroom, steady and deep. The sleep of someone who finally let go of a burden, at least for one night. They made the decision together. They agreed. Sell the farm, move south, start over. So why does Tu Tien's heart feel like it's pulling in two directions? She makes tea slowly, deliberately. Green tea, the cheap kind she buys at the market, but she makes it with care. 1 cup for her, 1 for Jack when he wakes. The small rituals that make a house feel like home. She holds the warm cup between her palms and lets herself think the thoughts she didn't allow last night. What if there's another way? It's a dangerous thought. They've already decided. Jack needs this. The stress was killing him slowly, and she saw it every day in the lines around his eyes, the way his shoulders curved inward like he was trying to make himself smaller under the weight. Selling the farm makes sense. It's practical, reasonable. But reasonable doesn't always mean right. Here's what nobody tells you about sacrifice. Sometimes the person making it isn't sure they should. Sometimes you offer everything you have and then lie awake wondering if there was a different answer hiding just out of reach. Tu Tien said all the right words last night about family, about being together, about the farm being just a place. And she meant them. She did. But she also loves this place. Not just the house or the land, the work itself. The feeling of her hands in the soil, the satisfaction of watching things grow, the simple pride of harvesting what she planted. That's not nothing. That's who she is. The sun rises higher. The kitchen fills with golden light. And Tu Tien makes a decision of her own. Today, she's going to work this farm like she'll never leave it. Not because she's changed her mind about helping Jack, but because if these are her last days here, she wants to remember what it feels like to belong to a place. She finishes her tea, rinses the cup, and heads outside. The morning air is cool and clean. The chickens are already awake, scratching in their pen. Miu appears from somewhere, tail high, demanding breakfast. Tu Tien feeds them all, speaks to them softly. "Good morning, little ones. Did you sleep well?" They don't know anything is about to change. Lucky them. She walks through the garden, really looking this time. The bitter melon vines that need pruning. The tomato plants that could use staking. The herbs growing wild near the fence. Every corner holds a memory. Where she first planted lettuce, and it all died because she watered too much. Where Jack built her a trellis last spring. Where Miu likes to nap in the afternoon sun. This is mine, she thinks. I made this. And then, quieter. But Jack needs peace more than I need dirt under my fingernails. She starts working. There's always work. Today, it's weeding, thinning the vegetable rows, checking for pests. Her hands move automatically, but her mind is somewhere else. Calculating, planning, wondering. What if they didn't have to sell the whole farm? What if there's a way to keep part of it, just enough to hold on to? Jack mentioned selling half. Maybe that's the real answer. Keep the house, sell the fields, or keep the garden, sell everything else. There has to be a middle ground between losing everything and drowning in debt. But that's magical thinking, isn't it? When you're underwater, you don't negotiate with the ocean. You swim or you sink. Tu Tien pulls weeds with more force than necessary. The earth gives them up easily. The rain from last night softened everything. That's Vietnam for you. 1 minute dry, the next minute soft. Nothing stays the same for long. You're up early. She jumps slightly. Jack is standing at the edge of the garden, hair still messy from sleep, holding the cup of tea she left for him. He's smiling, but there's something careful in his expression, like he's watching her, trying to read her mood. I couldn't sleep, she admits. No point lying. They're past that. Too much thinking. Jack walks closer, stops a respectful distance away, gives her space. Having second thoughts? Yes. No. Maybe. All of the above. But what she says is, just processing. It's a big decision. It is. He sips his tea, looking at the garden she's been tending. But it's the right one. You know that, right? Does she? Tu Tien straightens, wipes dirt from her hands onto her pants. I know it helps you. That's what matters. No. Jack's voice is gentle but firm. What matters is us. Both of us. If this hurts you too much, it doesn't hurt. The lie comes quick and easy. She's had practice. It's just, this is the first place I've ever really belonged, you know? That's hard to let go. Jack sets his tea down on the fence post and comes closer. Takes her dirty hands in his clean ones. Then let's not let go. Not yet. Not completely. Tu Tien looks up at him, confused. What do you mean? I've been thinking too, Jack says. All night, actually. And you are right about one thing. We need to solve the immediate problem. The bank needs money. That's non-negotiable. But maybe... He pauses, choosing words carefully. Maybe we don't have to give up everything all at once. Maybe we find a way to make this work. Hope flickers in Tu Tien's chest. Dangerous hope. The kind that makes you believe in miracles. Like what? I don't know yet, Jack admits. But I think we should try. Before we sell, before we give up, let's see if there's another option we haven't thought of yet. Can we do that? Give ourselves a few more days to figure it out? A few more days. That's all he's offering. Not a solution, not a guarantee. Just time to look for a third option between holding on and letting go. It's not much, but it's something. Tu Tien feels the tightness in her chest ease just slightly. Okay, she says, a few more days. Jack squeezes her hands. That's my girl. Now come on, let's have breakfast. You can't save a farm on an empty stomach. They walk back to the house together, leaving the weeds half pulled and the morning half finished. And for the first time since last night's conversation, Tu Tien lets herself believe that maybe, just maybe, there's a way through this that doesn't cost them everything. Here's the thing about hope. It makes you brave and foolish in equal measure. Over breakfast, rice porridge with yesterday's leftover pork floss, simple and warm, Tu Tien and Jack start talking about possibilities. Not the heavy final conversation from last night. This is different, lighter, more like two people solving a puzzle than two people planning a funeral. The bank wants money, Jack says, stirring his porridge absently. That's the core problem. We need approximately 40 million zhong in 10 days. 40 million. It sounds impossible when you say it out loud. Tu Tien's entire market earnings yesterday were maybe 200,000. At that rate, she'd need to sell bitter melon for 200 days straight. The math doesn't work. It never has. What if we borrowed from someone? She suggests carefully. Just temporarily, until you can earn it back? Jack shakes his head. I already tried. My father... He stops, jaw tightening. The unspoken story hangs between them. The father who controls everything, who probably could help but won't. Not unless Jack comes crawling back. And that's a price neither of them wants to pay. Okay, not borrowing then. Tu Tien thinks harder. What about selling something smaller? Not the farm, but something else? I already sold the car, Jack reminds her gently. And my watch. Everything I had that was worth anything. This farm is all that's left. The weight settles back on them. For a moment, they eat in silence. The porridge is good, hot, comforting, exactly what they need. But it can't solve everything. Then Tu Tien says something that surprises even herself. What if we made the farm earn more? Jack looks up. What do you mean? I mean, she's thinking out loud now, following a thread she can barely see. Right now, I harvest vegetables, sell at the market. Small money, slow money. But what if we did something bigger? Something that brings in real cash quickly? Like what? Jack's voice is cautious but interested. He's listening. Tu Tien stands up, starts pacing. Her mind is moving fast now, connecting dots. The farm has good land, good water, good growing conditions. We could expand. Not just bitter melon for local market, but something people pay premium prices for. Specialty crops, organic vegetables for city restaurants, maybe even agritourism. People from the city like to come harvest their own produce. She's speaking faster now, energy building. I know it sounds crazy. I know we don't have much time. But Jack, what if we tried? What if we pushed hard for these 10 days and saw how much we could actually make? If we can earn even part of the money, maybe we can negotiate with the bank again, show them we're serious, show them the farm is profitable. Jack is staring at her. Not like she's crazy, like she's remarkable. Tu Tien, that's ambitious. Too ambitious. She sits back down, deflating slightly. You're right, it's stupid. We can't possibly... No. Jack reaches across the table, catches her hand. Not stupid. Brave, and maybe exactly what we need. He's warming to the idea now. She can see it in his eyes. I could help too, really help. Not just after work, but full time. I could take emergency leave from the company, tell them it's family crisis, which it is. Spend these 10 days working the farm with you. But your job can wait, Jack says firmly. This is more important. We're more important. He squeezes her hand. You said it yourself last night. We're family. Families fight together. Something unlocks in Tu Tien's heart. Not just relief, joy. Because this is what she wanted without knowing how to ask for it. Not to sacrifice alone, but to build together, to try. To fight for this place they've made into home. Okay, she says, and her voice is steady now, strong. Then we do it together. We work hard, we sell everything we grow, and we see what's possible. Together, Jack agrees. They finish breakfast quickly, already planning. The garden needs to be harvested completely. Every vegetable ready or nearly ready. They'll go to different markets, cast a wider net. Jack can use his business connections to find restaurant buyers who'll pay premium prices. Tu Tien can double her cooking, make value-added products, pickles, preserves, things with higher margins. It's a long shot. They both know it. 10 days to make a miracle happen. But here's what desperation teaches you. You'd rather fail trying everything than succeed at giving up. By mid-morning, they're both in the garden. Jack changes into old clothes, a t-shirt Tu Tien recognizes from months ago, from when he first started spending time here, before he knew what real farm work felt like. It's stained and worn now, earned. Tell me what to do, he says. She does. And Jack listens, really listens. Not like a CEO humoring his girlfriend, but like a partner learning a skill he should have learned long ago. How to check vegetables for ripeness, how to harvest without damaging the plant, how to move through the garden efficiently, basket in hand, eyes sharp for what's ready. They work side by side. The sun climbs higher, gets hot. Sweat drips down Jack's face. He doesn't complain, doesn't slow down. Every cucumber, every handful of beans, every perfect tomato goes into baskets. This isn't hobby farming anymore. This is survival. Your hands are going to hurt tomorrow, Tu Tien warns, watching Jack grip the tools with determination, but not much finesse. Good, Jack says. Let them hurt. Let me feel like I'm doing something. And there it is. The real issue underneath everything. Jack has felt helpless for weeks, maybe months. Watching debt pile up, watching circumstances spiral beyond his control. But this he can do. Dirt under his fingernails, sun on his back, visible progress in baskets that fill up and need emptying. This is love in a different language. Not grand gestures or passionate declarations. Just two people working until their backs ache, believing that labor might equal salvation. By noon, they've filled twice as many baskets as Tu Tien usually manages alone. The pile by the garden gate looks almost absurd in its abundance. Cucumbers, bitter melon, tomatoes, eggplant, green beans, herbs. A fortune in vegetables if you're patient enough to sell them right. We need a plan for distribution, Jack says, wiping sweat from his forehead. His business mind is kicking in now, overlaying farm work with strategy. Can't just dump all this at one market. We'll flood the supply, drive our own prices down. Tu Tien nods. She's been thinking the same thing. I'll take half to my usual market. The women there know me, trust me, but the rest, we need new buyers. Leave that to me, Jack says. He's already pulling out his phone, scrolling through contacts. I know people, restaurant owners, hotel managers, people who need fresh produce and will pay premium for quality. He looks at their harvest with new eyes. This is good stuff, Tu Tien. Really good. We just need to get it in front of the right people. They break for lunch. Quick, practical, leftover rice, reheated soup, no time for elaborate meals. The afternoon stretches ahead with more work. Sorting vegetables, packing them properly, making calls, planning routes. But as they eat, Tu Tien allows herself a moment to look at Jack. Really look. His face is flushed from sun and effort. His nice business hands are dirt-streaked and scratched from thorns. He looks exhausted and alive in equal measure. Thank you, she says quietly. Jack glances up, surprised. For what? For trying. For not just, accepting the easy answer. Easy? Jack laughs, but it's not bitter. Nothing about this is easy, Tu Tien. This is probably the hardest thing I've ever done. He reaches across the small table, touches her cheek gently. But you're worth hard things. This place is worth hard things. And I'd rather fail fighting than succeed at giving up. There it is again. That phrase that's becoming their motto, their battle cry. Fighting together. The afternoon blurs into action. Jack makes calls while Tu Tien sorts and packs. His voice drifts through the open window. Professional, persuasive, but with an edge of urgency she's never heard before. Premium organic produce harvested this morning. Yes, I can deliver today. How much do you need? He's good at this. Better than Tu Tien expected. The CEO's skills translate to farm sales in surprising ways. He knows how to read people, how to position products, how to close deals. By late afternoon, he's secured commitments from 3 restaurants and 2 small hotels. Not huge orders, but respectable. real money. 15 kilograms of mixed vegetables to the Golden Lotus Hotel, he reports, checking his notes. 20 kilos to Chef Min's restaurant. Another 10 to the French place on the corner. They specifically want the bitter melon, said they have a special dish. Tu Tien, we just made 3 days of your normal market income in one afternoon. 3 days income. In one afternoon. It's not 40 million zhong, not even close. But it's progress. Visible, tangible progress. Tu Tien feels something shift inside her. Not quite hope. She's still too practical for that. But possibility. The sense that maybe, just maybe, they're not completely helpless after all. We need to keep this up, she says. Every day, push as hard as we can. Agreed? Jack is already making notes, planning tomorrow's harvest and sales route. And we need to think bigger. What else can we grow quickly? What else can we sell? They brainstorm into the evening. Herbs. Restaurants love fresh herbs and will pay premium. Eggs from the chickens if they increase production. Maybe even prepare ahead meals using the vegetables, sell them as ready-to-eat packages. Every idea gets examined, tested against time and resources. It's exhausting, but it's also exhilarating, because for the first time since this crisis started, they're not just reacting, they're acting, building, fighting. As darkness falls, they finally stop. The day's harvest is sorted, packed, ready for tomorrow's deliveries. The house smells like vegetable and earth and honest work. They're both exhausted, but it's good exhaustion. The kind that comes from spending yourself on something that matters. 9 days left, Jack says quietly, looking at the calendar. 9 days, Tu Tien echoes. We can do a lot in 9 days. We can try. Jack pulls her close, and they stand together in the doorway, looking out at the farm that might yet be saved. Thank you for not letting me give up. But Tu Tien shakes her head. You're the one who suggested we fight. No, Jack says. You're the one who showed me how. You know what's remarkable about determination? It doesn't guarantee success, but it changes the shape of failure. The next 9 days blur together into a rhythm that's both exhausting and beautiful. Wake before dawn. Harvest, sort, pack, deliver, sell, cook, clean. Sleep barely enough. Wake and do it all again. Tu Tien and Jack become a machine of efficiency. She knows the garden, knows which vegetables are ready, which need one more day. He knows the buyers, knows who wants what and at what price. Together, they're more than the sum of their parts. Day 3, Jack secures a standing order from a boutique hotel. 20 kilograms of mixed produce 3 times a week. Real recurring income. They celebrate with sticky rice and an extra hour of sleep. Day 5, Tu Tien starts making pickled vegetables, her grandmother's recipe, the one that turns ordinary cucumbers into something people remember. She sells 3 jars at the market, then 5, then 10. Women start asking when she'll bring more. It's not huge money, but it's something. Everything is something now. Day 7, they have their first real argument. Not about the farm or the debt or the plan, about sleep. Jack wants to work through the night, prep extra vegetables for an early morning hotel delivery. Tu Tien says no. You'll make yourself sick. We can't do this if you collapse. We don't have time to sleep. Jack's voice cracks with frustration and exhaustion. We don't have time for you to get sick either. Tu Tien shoots back. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Pace yourself. They compromise. 4 hours of sleep minimum. No negotiation. They set an alarm and keep each other honest. That's partnership too. Knowing when to push and when to protect. By day 8, They've made approximately 18 million zhong. It sounds like a lot until you remember they need 40 million. They're not even halfway there. The math is still impossible, but it's less impossible than it was. Jack sits at the kitchen table that evening, calculator in hand, doing the numbers for the 10th time, like maybe they'll change if he's persistent enough. Tu Tien watches him from the doorway. His shoulders are tense again, curving inward under weight. "It's not enough," he says finally, quiet, defeated. "Even if we maintain this pace tomorrow, we'll be short, way short." Tu Tien comes to sit beside him, takes the calculator gently from his hands. "I know. I thought maybe..." Jack's voice trails off. He doesn't need to finish. They both thought maybe hard work and determination would be enough. That's what stories teach you, isn't it? Try hard enough and miracles happen. But real life doesn't always work that way. "We tried," Tu Tien says. "We tried everything. That matters." "Does it?" Jack looks at her, and there's something raw in his face. "We're still going to lose the farm. All we did was delay the inevitable by a few days." "No." Tu Tien's voice is firm. She takes his face in her hands, makes him look at her. "What we did was prove something. To ourselves, to each other. We proved we can work together, build together, fight together. And we proved this farm can be profitable if we run it right. That doesn't help us keep it." "Maybe not right now," Tu Tien admits. "But Jack, we earned 18 million zhong in 8 days. 18 million. That's more than I've ever made in 3 months of normal farming. If we can do that in 8 days under crisis, imagine what we could do with time. With planning. With resources." She's not trying to sell him false hope. She's trying to show him what they've actually accomplished. They didn't save the farm. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But they proved it's worth saving. They proved they're worth saving. Jack is quiet for a long moment. Then, "So what do we do tomorrow? Our last day?" "We go to the bank," Tu Tien says. "We show them what we've done. We tell them we have 18 million now and a solid plan to make more. We ask for an extension, a real one, time to build on what we've started." "They won't give it," Jack says, but there's no fight in his voice, just weariness. "Maybe not," Tu Tien agrees, "but we ask anyway, because we tried everything else. And if they say no..." She takes a breath. "If they say no, at least we'll know we exhausted every option. We can sell the farm with our heads high, knowing we gave it absolutely everything we had." There's a strange peace in that. In knowing that failure, if it comes, won't be from lack of trying. They'll have nothing to regret except circumstances beyond their control. And you can live with that. You can move forward from that. Jack pulls her close. They sit like that for a while, her head on his shoulder, his arms around her waist. The kitchen is quiet except for Mew purring somewhere in the shadows. Outside, the farm sleeps under stars, still theirs for one more night. "I love you," Jack says suddenly. Not prompted by anything, just a fact that needs saying. "However this ends, I need you to know that. This was the best thing I've ever done. Building this with you, trying with you. I don't regret a second." Tu Tien feels her eyes sting. "I love you too. And I don't regret anything either." That night, they sleep better than they have in days. Not because their problems are solved, but because they've made peace with having done their absolute best. Sometimes, that's all you can ask of yourself. Morning comes. Their last day. Day 9. The bank appointment is at 2 in the afternoon. They spend the morning harvesting one final time, filling one last set of baskets. Jack delivers to their standing customers. Returns with cash in hand, another 2 million zhong. It brings their total to 20 million. 20 million zhong, half of what they need, but twice what they had 9 days ago. It's something. It has to be something. They dress carefully for the bank. Tu Tien wears her nicest blouse, the one she saves for rare occasions. Jack puts on a button-down shirt, tries to look less like a farmer and more like the businessman he used to be. They carry a folder with their earnings records, their sales receipts, their detailed plan for continued profitability. The bank is cold and sterile. Air conditioning that makes Tu Tien shiver. Fluorescent lights that turn everyone slightly grey. They sit in uncomfortable chairs, waiting. Mr. Jack? A loan officer appears, young, crisp, professional. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Please come in. They follow her to a small office, sit across from her at a desk that's too clean, too organised. The loan officer, her nameplate says Ms. Lin, pulls up their account on her computer. Her face is carefully neutral. So, she says, I understand you're here about the outstanding loan. Yes, Jack says. His voice is steady, professional. CEO voice. We have 20 million zhong to pay today, and we'd like to discuss an extension on the remainder. Ms. Lin's eyebrows rise slightly. 20 million? That's impressive. We weren't expecting any payment at all. She types something. But you're still short the other 20 million. We are, Jack acknowledges. But as you can see from these documents, we've made significant progress. He slides the folder across the desk. In 9 days, we've earned 20 million through increased farm productivity. We have standing orders from multiple restaurants and hotels. The farm is profitable now. We just need more time. Ms. Lin opens the folder, scans the pages. Her expression doesn't change, but she's reading carefully, taking it seriously. That has to mean something. This is impressive work, she says finally. I can see you've made a genuine effort. So you'll grant the extension? Tu Tien hears the hope in her own voice, tries to tamp it down. Ms. Lin hesitates, and in that hesitation, they know. I need to consult with my supervisor. Please wait here. She leaves. The office feels smaller somehow without her. Jack and Tu Tien sit in silence, waiting. The clock on the wall ticks too loudly. 5 minutes? 10? 15? When Ms. Lin returns, her face is apologetic. I'm sorry. My supervisor says we can accept the 20 million today, but we cannot extend the deadline on the remainder. Bank policy doesn't allow it without collateral equal to the loan amount. The farm is the collateral, Jack says. Yes, but Ms. Lin looks genuinely sorry. A farm with an existing loan against it doesn't qualify as new collateral. It's the same asset. I'm truly sorry. They sit with that for a moment. The finality of it. They tried. They fought. They earned more money in 9 days than Tu Tien thought possible. And it still wasn't enough. So what happens now? Tu Tien asks quietly. You have until end of business tomorrow to pay the full amount, or... Ms. Lin doesn't want to say it. Or the bank will begin foreclosure proceedings. Foreclosure. The ugly word that's been hovering over them for weeks, now landing with full weight. Tomorrow. They have until tomorrow to produce a miracle, or lose everything. They leave the bank in silence, walk to Jack's borrowed motorbike. Sit there for a moment in the parking lot, neither of them quite ready to start the engine and face what comes next. Well, Jack says finally, we tried. We did. Tu Tien's voice is surprisingly steady. We really did. They ride back to the farm slowly. The sun is starting its descent, painting everything golden. The fields look beautiful in this light, the kind of beautiful that makes you ache, because you know it won't last. At home, the farm welcomes them like always. Mew meowing for dinner. Chickens settling for the night. The garden still lush with vegetables they worked so hard to grow. It looks like hope. But hope isn't always enough. They sit on the porch, watching the light fade. Not talking much. Just being. Together. Like they promised. Tomorrow we'll call about selling, Jack says eventually. Get it started. Tomorrow, Tu Tien agrees. Not tonight. Tonight they can still pretend. Tonight the farm is still theirs. And then, just as the last light is fading, they hear a car coming up the road. Unusual. They don't get many visitors. Jack stands, squinting into the dusk. The car pulls into their driveway. A figure emerges, and even in the dim light, Tu Tien recognizes her. Mother Loy.